Well, good morning, good afternoon, good evening, everybody. Welcome back to JJ's PC Builds live stream. You know it is JJ with you once again. If you're first time here, make sure you subscribe. And if you subscribe, welcome to the family. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds and my veteran subscribers. As always, much love to you for all that you do helping support the channel. Today, we got something to talk about. We got like the Ryzen 7 8700G to talk about and a few more things beyond that. So make sure y'all stick around to the end of the live stream. But I'm going to say hello out there to Machine. Hello to you. Welcome to the stream. Now we're going to wait a couple minutes, make sure everybody gets in on the jibber jabber. And that way we can get it going. So let me see what y'all putting in Discord here. Hopefully everybody gets in on it. And also too, if you haven't gotten in on Discord yet, let me go ahead and pull up invite for y'all. I'm gonna go ahead and create one. Alrighty, there we go. I'm gonna go ahead and create a Discord, and I'm gonna put the link in the chat, so that way y'all got it. I'll put a link in there for you if you want to get in on Discord. So make sure you check on that. If you don't get it, then let me know. Then we'll send it to you. Okay, let me put everybody on the I'm live kind of thing, so that way everybody knows where I'm at. Okay, we'll get the party started in a moment. I got a couple things I'm thinking about for the 8700G. And we're going to go through, before I get into the comments of everybody about the 8700G, I want y'all to understand something. The 8700G is not for everybody. It's for the ones that don't have the money to buy a graphics card. This is more or less in the realm of their perseverance to want to get a graphics card. So I know some people are going to say, well, you know, I got a discrete graphics card. This processor is not going to be for me because it's got an APU on it, and you know, it just doesn't reach the heights that I would appreciate it to be at. Well, I can understand that, but also too understand the point of what I'm going to be making. And hello, MTBK. Good to see you. Good to see you. I'm going to get to my points, and then I'm going to take questions. So give me time. Let me get to the points of what's going on with the 8700G that I've seen so far. We're going to go through all the, you know, the goods and the bads and everything else. So let me switch over to the action screen, and we'll talk about it. Okay, now, with the 8700G, you got to look at the amount, well, you got to look at the cores and stuff like that. With that, you got 8 cores, 16 threads. You know, you get a base clock of like, you know, 4.2 gigahertz and boost clock up to 5.1 gigahertz. Its core configuration is 1x8. It's got 16 megs of L3 cache. And it's got 180 millimeter 12 CUs for the GPU model. Now, this says it'll boost up to 2.9 gigahertz. Okay, well, this is the thing. If it's anything like my processor, the 5600G, where it'll go up a couple hundred more megahertz in the BIOS, you can set the BIOS manually for your integrated graphics. And you can just bypass, using adrenaline if you don't want to use it. But if you do want to use it, it'll work just fine with it. But with adrenaline, they really don't let you adjust the clocks, for your GPU and your memory. So that's the reason why I always said go to the BIOS first, set the clocks in there to your max, and then, you can work off of the adrenaline software, which would be better for you anyway. So just to let you know that. But looking at that's pretty much what the thing with the 8700G is, this says it has 20 PCIe lanes at 4.0. Now, if you look over at the Ryzen 7 7700, it's got 28 PCIe lanes at 5.0. Keep that in mind. All these processors are at 65 watts minimal for the TDP. But like I said, with the 8500 and the 8300, it's basically what they're saying OEM. That means that they're coming built into pre-builts, the all-in-one pre-builts. So do expect that to happen. And it's only got 4-core 8 threads. But you can go, they got the 8500G, which is $180, 6-core 12 threads, 3.2 gigahertz processor to 4.1. Okay. That's the base clock. Now the boost clock, they're still saying it gets up to 5.0, but its configuration is a 2+4, which you only get 4 CUs. That's the reason why I really didn't want to talk about the 85 and 8300 today, because I'd rather y'all keep your focus on the 8700G or the 8600G, which now the 8600G is $100 less. Still, you get the 4.3 gigahertz base clock, and you get a 5.0 boost clock. You get a 1x6 core configuration with 16 megabytes of L3. You get the 760M 8 CUs for $100 less. And this is going to 2.8 gigahertz. So they say 16 tops. But still, it comes to the same point of 20 PCIe lanes at 4.0. And there's a lot of you all going to be looking at me funny about that. Okay, now you got the Ryzen 7 7700, which is here in the lineup, which has got a base clock of 3.8 gigahertz, the boost clock of 5.3 gigahertz, which some sites say it's 5.4. So either way, don't know. But this has got a 1x8 core configuration, 32 megs of L3 cache. It's based on the RDNA 2 CUs. It's 2.2 gigahertz on the GPU clock. And it's got 28 PCIe 5.0 lanes. Now, I think this has got the 2 CUs on this processor. It's some of the... Okay, let's go back to the main screen. Oh, did it again. Okay, this is what I want you to understand. The 7700 is, if I'm reckoning right, it should have a iGPU already on it with 2 CUs. But this is giving you 28 PCIe lanes at 5.0. Okay, now going over to the 8700G, where it's got 20 PCIe lanes at 4.0. I don't know. I'm kind of up in the air right now about it. Okay, now I'm going to take your questions. You don't count. Good evening. What is the one all the way to the right? Well, that's the Ryzen 7 7700 machine. That's the one you got in your, oh, let me see if I can fix that. Let me go back and see if I can fix that. Oh, that's why you can't see it. Okay. We'll go ahead and we'll fix that real quick. There we go. There. So that way you can see the top of the chart. My bad. It's fixed. So I'll give it a couple minutes for y'all to see it. I forgot to move it up. So there you go. Okay, back to main screen. Okay. Zoom in or out, control, or... Oh, you have the 7700X? Well, I was just talking about the 7700, and you're welcome. I was just talking about the 7700. Now, I'm not talking about the 7700X. See, that's the thing. Now, the 7700, you know, from what I'm recollecting, is they got 2 CUs on this. So that's telling me that it has integrated graphics. Tell me if I'm wrong about this. It has the RDNA 2. Yeah, I mean, this is what doesn't make sense to me. And they get 32 megs of L3. Why couldn't they? Well, you got 8700 machine at 12 CUs at RDNA 2. And then you got, is it RDNA 2 or RDNA 4? My question is, if the PCIe lanes are 4.0 anyway, does this mean people will not need to buy a B650E or X650 or X670E chipset mainboard? Or they would have to change the CPU as well if going for PCIe 5.0 GPUs. Right now, they don't have... I don't think they've came out with the new PCIe 5.0 GPUs. I think that's more based upon the solid state drives right now. But with this 8700G processor, it's only based upon the 4.0 lanes. So, but it doesn't give any destination of the 5.0 lanes. But I did notice somewhere, and I think on AMD had something that it could run a PCIe 5.0 X2, if I remember right. But that was on the SSD. Oh. But it's missing 8 lanes. I mean, the 8700G is missing 8 lanes. From your regular processor. I mean, you know, from the 7700 to the 8700G, it's looking like the 7700 is going to be better than the 8700G. Oh, RDNA 3, I wasn't sure. Yeah. I think they were basing it upon the solid state drives. Because right now, yeah, they don't have a 5.0 graphics card. And I'm thinking they're not going to do that until after they get out on the 9000 series, maybe. But I didn't hear nothing about the, I heard one little peep about the 9000 series, the 9700X, but I didn't hear much more about it. AMD's got everything all screwed up right now. I mean, if you look at AM4, okay, the lineup that they got an AM4, right? They got, everything spaced perfectly in the AM4. But when it comes to AM5, the 7000 series, they got everything all mixed up in there to where, some CPU processors, they got the integrated graphics, some don't. It's all mixed and matched. But now they're doing the 8000 series. Ugh. They're just putting integrated graphics on the 8000 series, but who knows what they're going to do with the 8000 series. If they're going to add processors in without the graphics, are they going to do the same thing as the AM4? We don't know. That's going to be a good question about that. So, the 8700, yes, the 8700G will fall short of its paired with an RTX 4090. So future GPUs might suit nicely, but I'm not sure about it. Well, if it's clocking over the 5.1 gigahertz, as far as handling the 4090, well, with it having only 16 megs of L3 and there's no really a big amount of buffering, I could agree with that. I could really agree with that because it really doesn't have that amount of buffering in there. Okay, let's see. Yeah, base clocks 4.5, L1. I'm reading what you sent there, machine. 5.4, L3 cache, desktop platform, Ryzen 7 processors. L2 cache is 8 megs and L3 is 32. Yeah, I mean, I think this either the 7700 series or greater would be your best bet. As far as cost wise, yeah, that's it. That's only if you're not wanting integrated graphics. Okay, if you don't want integrated graphics and you want to save a couple dollars, then you can go to the 7500F. You can go to that. I think that's a cheaper processor if I'm correct. But as far as the 8700G, I mean, there's a pathway. If somebody's got like the B550 or no B650 motherboard, B650-A, what they were testing this with, and you got, let's say you want to put like a RX 6600 with it, that's perfect. Because you're just using the CPU and you're putting a discrete graphics card with it, so you're just giving it a little bit more life. With the right motherboard, yeah, you'll be fine. If you overclock the 8700G, how much will you go over the 65 watts? I heard somebody tried to do it already. They went to 5.3 gigahertz and it went up to about 139 watts, somewhere in there. So it's almost like over double the amount of watts. And that's not good for the processor because those 65 watt processors are not really designed to go up that high for a long period of time. They want you to keep it in between 65 and 85 watts so you don't kill the silicon in the processor. So pushing it past the 100 to 135 watts for continuous use, you're going to kill the processor faster, than having it for a long period of time. You want to keep the amount of heat down, then you need to keep the watts down. So that's all the reason why everybody says, some people don't like the undervolt. I do, because it saves the life on my processors. I don't have a problem, and the performance is better. I got a better rating on performance by undervolting than just running it stock. So I've said that before too. So my opinion, it's best to undervolt it. You can lower the amount of heat that's in your case, and that way, your motherboard won't suffer as much. It'll stay nice and cool at a consistent amount of temperature. You don't want to push too much temperature into your case. Even if you're running an AIO cooler, I did notice me running this 240 AIO cooler still seems like it's keeping up with the air cooler. If that makes sense to you. Because when I had my air cooler, I undervolted and had the same amount of temperature that I'm having on this AIO cooler. I must be that I put too small of a cooler in there. Maybe I need a 360. That's probably what I need too. So I'm trying the 240. 240 seems to run fine, so I'll just leave it at 240. Yes, some silicon is way more low leakage than the other silicon. MTBK, it is. Making it more capable of being very efficient, but not clock high, unless it is a golden sample. Yeah, true. You can't. If you get one that's off the market, right? You're not going to get a golden sample. The only way you get a golden sample is if you get it directly from the manufacturer, and they give you that special sample. That's the only way you're going to get it. Unless they let one slip by and, you got that one and you got that golden ticket. Willy Wonka. But yeah, I agree. Machine said, what would happen to an integrated graphics if you have a dedicated GPU? Why would you need integrated graphics at that point? Well, okay, the whole purpose of integrated graphics in the beginning of time was using it for business servers so they can go in there and modify things in the server itself, or they were using it for business type, like office use. That's how it started off in the beginning. And then Intel got in their mind they wanted to get into the gaming world with integrated graphics. So that's the way they went. And then they pulled AMD together with it. And then they started doing that for a little while until AMD and Intel broke up over a lawsuit, them complaining about each other, and one was stealing intellectual property and stuff like that. It was just a big mess. Then after that, they decided to go through the market for a little while on integrated graphics, making it better and better and better, depending on the games that you were playing back then. And then on top of the market, here comes the graphics cards. So after they started into the era of the graphics cards, what happened is the integrated graphics kind of got lost in the mess. Until later on down the road that Intel hears AMD's putting out integrated graphics, and then it goes back and forth again. It's the same BS. Always the same BS. So out of the two would go with the 8600G for gaming for the price. If you want to go $100 less, you could. But why would you want to do that? If you're just going to use it solely for the integrated graphics, then I can see it being viable to you. But if you've already got a graphics card and you're going to use it's okay to use it for a backup. Okay, if you want to use it for a backup in case your graphics card goes out, then yeah, I can see that. But what happens if your graphics card goes out, but it burns up your CPU and you got the integrated graphics on your CPU? What then? What are you left with? You spent that extra little bit of money for the integrated graphics and it got burned up on the motherboard due to the fact of, your graphics cards. Do remember, one piece of hardware on your motherboard could take everything out in a matter of time. And you wouldn't even know it. You hit the start button to start up your computer, boom, everything is toast. So that's something to think about too. You can make the operation system do everything via CPU and GPU, but keeping an iGPU enabled can save tons on energy for load demanding tasks, typically getting disabled via BIOS. Yep, pretty much. But the only bad caveat is you're using system RAM over using VRAM that you use on a graphics card. Different ball of wax. Now you're going to be sharing your system RAM with your graphics card that's built onto the processor. Unless you're going to dedicate the max amount from your RAM to that graphics, the integrated graphics, then that would be a different story. Then it comes back to the fact of what you got to do to make it run faster. So then you got to take and up the frequency to make it run faster. And then that, it's more of a cost than anything to get it to run correctly. And I'm going to tell you, it cost me a little bit to get the 5600G to run correctly. So it's more cost than just, getting a discrete graphics card. But if you can't afford one, then yeah, I can see going this route. Because then you got to buy the motherboard and so on. Yeah, I can see it. Jay, then simply never press the start button. Problem solved. Yeah, true, MTVK, true. Never press the start button. So, yeah, I mean, you have to look at it like this. You got 40% of the people on the market today that run off of integrated graphics. I couldn't believe it when I seen it. Because a lot of people, because of that, that virus mishap that happened, for last couple years, people didn't have that kind of money to get a new computer, so they had to suffer the fact of using integrated graphics like the 5600G and the 5700G, or they're using Zen 2 to where, they're using the 4600G and stuff like that back then. Now everybody's starting to see, since they like those people like the integrated graphics so much, that they would rather stay with integrated graphics other than running a discrete graphics card. I wouldn't blame them because, and this is the whole caveat about this. The whole caveat is that with an iGPU, you don't have to use any extra software with it. You can if you want. If you want to use their software, that's fine. But if you don't want to use their software, then that's just less of a load that's on your system. So you don't have to use let's say, because if you got the 8700, you don't want to use the Adrenaline software, but there is a little plus to the Adrenaline software. They got a little bit more added onto it. I think you can use the HyperX and stuff like that with it, but the one bad part that AMD has is with the integrated graphics, you cannot adjust the GPU clocks and the memory clocks. That's the biggest problem right now, is you can't adjust those clocks. And I think it's really stupid. If you can adjust the clocks in the BIOS, you should be able to adjust the clocks on the Adrenaline software. But every time I use that goddamn Adrenaline software, I'm going to tell you straight up, it seems to give me the worst problem when it comes to overclocking. It just seems like it just does not want to overclock any. I mean, I know how to overclock a GPU, but it seems like it just does not want to overclock. I had that same problem with the 7800 XT. It kept throwing me into an error until I had to figure out why. This goddamn software. That's the reason why I had to pull back a little bit on the, sending the Christmas build, was because of that. I had to go in there and fix the graphics card because it kept getting screwed up for some reason. Now that it's fixed, it's not a problem. It's a driver issue with it for some reason. So true, things get a lot simpler without discrete graphics card. They do. MTBK, they do. Believe it or not. That's the reason why, when I was on the 5600G and I was like, doing my videos and all that stuff off of that, it was a lot more simpler than using the programs that they send with these cards. Because even NVIDIA, with their control panel, you set it and you leave it. It's one-time adjustment. You don't do anything else with it. You set it once and you leave it. To me, that's like a wasted time. To even go in there and mess with anything, it's wasted time. It's no sense. You set it and leave it. Streaming seems to get more difficult, but we will see about that. Yeah. Well, it doesn't get difficult with me. I don't have a problem streaming. It's just when I set up a brand new one for, let's say, if I want to go to Twitch, I got to learn all that and how to set it up and everything else. That's going to take time. And Machine says you have to overclock and undervolt at the same time in Adrenaline to make it work. That is what I had to do to get more performance on the 7600. Yeah, it seems like it's really weird. You got to take an undervolt one and overclock the other. It's either you undervolt your memory and overclock your GPU, or vice versa. And if you go to set your fans, you'll be lucky if it stays into the memory of the program, because every time I tried to set the speed of the fans under a new curve, it would go back to default. So I was pissed about that. Seems like every time I overclock or undervolt or whatever, the AMD just goes right back to default. Pissed me off. Yeah. I don't have that problem with NVIDIA. I really don't. I've undervolted. I have overclocked the GPU with NVIDIA. Never had that problem. Never. And that's the reason why I'm still with NVIDIA, is because I don't have that problem. It seems everybody's making everything that they're saying all good with AMD. I like AMD processors. I really do. I really like the processors. But as far as the GPUs, oh my God. I mean, I would rather somebody give me like a GT 1030 to stick in my system other than, using an AMD graphics card. Just my opinion. MTBK says, I am not an AMD Adrenaline software veteran. Not going to lie. Well, I am, for the simple fact, I've used a lot of AMD products over the years. I've used a lot of Intel products over the years. NVIDIA, I wasn't really a fan of back a few years ago, but now that I'm running their graphics card, I don't seem to have that problem. Everybody else has seemed to have a problem with, I hear many, and you can go on Reddit and hear many of rants. Everybody says, the AMD GPUs are just bodacious. Get the 7800 XT. So I get the 7800 XT, and you know what I get? 1% more than the 4070. I shook my head and said, this was crap. So that's just my opinion. No, 1030. Machine, when I told you that, when it comes to the NVIDIA 4070, it is 1,333% faster than the GT 1030. And I showed you the benchmark on it. So, now the card that you really want to probably get would be the 1080. I think it's the 1080 Ti or something like that. But what I really want is the 2080. Your 80 series cards are your better cards. The 70 series are not that great. But in some cases, they might have good silicon on some, but, sometimes it just skips, generations when it comes to silicon for the 70 series. But as far as, the 80 series, like your 2080, your 3080, your 4080, that's usually the card everybody sticks with. So, I don't know, y'all. 8700G just, to me, seems like it's good for somebody that doesn't, care for a discrete graphics card or don't have one, but they have a AM5 computer that has, crappy processor. It'd be a little bit of an upgrade for them, but for $330, I don't know. That seems like a far-fetched to me. I would imagine AMD would have pushed this down to like maybe $190. The 8700G put it at $190. I think that would have been a better price than them having it at $330. I just can't see it. It's not viable at that price. Especially when you get one or two games just with the integrated graphics that you can get over 200 FPS. And that's it. One or two games. But if you're pushing one or two games at 200 FPS, for a fact that it's going to be stuttering. You're going to have game stutter. Because if you don't have the right system RAM in there with enough speed, you waste your time. You're wasting your time with the integrated graphics. You have to have the max amount of speed in order to get decent amount of gameplay off of integrated graphics. So I got not time to test some ray tracing games on my 4060 laptop, and no DLSS games yet so far. Well, I hear you there. Machine says, I don't ray trace on my 4070. It's too weak. No, it ain't. I've ran ray tracing test on the 4070. No, it's not. I have the same GPU. Do you remember right here? See? Right here. I don't seem to have that problem. It could be that, you know, your clock timing might be off a little bit. Could be. You never know. So, but being weak on ray tracing, I know when I first turned on ray tracing by itself, it made the GPU or the discrete graphics card go from 300 and something FPS all the way down to like maybe 40 or 45 FPS, just running straight ray tracing, nothing else. But if you don't support it with DLSS 3 and, you know, some of that in there, yeah, it's going to drop it way down. So you need to have it supported with something else in order to keep the clocks up there. RT is ray tracing machine, if that's what you're saying. I'm sure that's not rasterization. So MTBK says, seems annoying of people cannot cheap out on RAM if they want to buy an 8600 or 8700. Well, they're not going to cheap out on the RAM, I can tell you that. They're not going to cheap out on the RAM, I can tell you that. Because if they want to get better speeds off of the integrated graphics, they're going to have to keep it up into the 6400 or the 7400 megahertz range. They would have to keep it up right about there. If they want to get the best gameplay, from what I've seen, that's the only way they'll be able to get the best gameplay, is keeping it around 6400 or 7400 megahertz or microtransfers, whatever the hell, you know, for your system RAM in order to support your integrated graphics. Machine, it drops my FPS on Alan Wake 2 by 25%. Well, Alan Wake 2's never been balanced out. They still ain't got that all figured out, from what I hear. That it's still kind of choppy and everything else. So can't base it on one game, man. You can't base it on one game. You got to do multiple games, and you'll see in multiple games you'll get different FPS counts. So you'll get different power draws, different FPS counts, and everything else. So if you base it upon one game, and that's the only game you play, then I can see that. But if you play multiple games, which I know you do, then you can't really base it upon, you know, that. And plus, Alan Wake 2 is all messed up anyway. So, let's see. Can't tell a difference between low and medium. Wow. It is the only game I have with ray tracing. Well, if you go on Steam, there are many games that they got for ray tracing, and they got many games that are for rasterization. So if you want to test out your rasterization or your ray tracing, you're best off to get those free games so you don't spend an arm and a leg for them, and then test them out and see what you think. That's just my opinion. Yeah. Starfield's more rasterization. Yeah, that is true. That's what I thought as well when playing Detroit Become Human with a disabled depth and field patched out. Yep. Some of these games that they got out right now, they're going to be doing patches with. And when they bring out the new generation, when it comes to your CPU and your GPU, then things are going to change. I did hear somebody leak something about one company, and I can't put my finger on it just yet. But I did hear the fact that when they come out with the new generation, things are going to be changing when it comes to PC building and what you have inside your PC. I didn't know what they meant by that, but I'm going to follow up on that, and I'll let y'all know what I find out. So, I just got Pal World. Have not played it yet. Well, you ought to play it. I hear a lot of people are playing that right now, Machine. So you ought to play that and see what it's about. Yes, some of the Lego RTX, Minecraft RTX, Quake RTX, Avatar, expensive RT only. Yeah, MTBK. Yeah, it's always the same old expense. If you go back towards the 90s, it's where they put the games on the shelf for $14. You take and install them into your PC, and then you just play it off your PC. It's not like, now these days you got to rent from these companies a little piece of their software. It's crazy. $50-$60. Hell, I've been used to playing them games on a CD that you can go into Walmart for, get them for like $9.99 or $14.99. There was a craze going on about, what was it? What do you call that game? SOS or something like that. Let me think. I forgot the name of it. It was like a big craze back about maybe 8 years ago. Can't remember the name of it. And then Steam came out with all their games and everybody just fell off the ocean. And after Steam came out, NVIDIA had to come out with their own, library so everybody can play on. So, I have never played Minecraft. I'll be honest with you, I have never played Minecraft. So, yeah. But what the thing is this is a lot of people, MTBK, a lot of people look for the free games right now. Times are tight. Always put that forth. I know if you paid for your games, I understand that. That's respected. But some people that can't afford those kind of games, they look for the good games that are in the free section for Steam. So if you ever find any good free game, that's the one you should post up and say, hey, I found this good free game you might want to play. So just something to think about. Yeah, see, all those games right there are the games you have to spend money on, right? Those are the ones that you have to spend money on. And when you spend the money on it, what happens is that what happens if your system doesn't keep up? And you spend all that money on those games and you don't have a system that can keep up. Now you're to the fact of now you got to go buy new parts and everything else just to make your games work. It's a trap. That's the reason why I don't get stuck in the trap. And that's the reason why I don't have Cyberpunk 2077. I don't have all those top games that all these reviewers have, is because, you know what? I put myself in the category of, you know, your consumer that can only afford so much. So, yeah, but see, when you got your 4070 there machine, you got a free game with it. That was cool. I mean, that was really cool that you got that free game with it. I mean, you figure if you get a game with a GPU, when you buy a GPU, you figure if that game is 50, 60 bucks, that's 50 or 60 bucks you just saved into your pocket because you got a free game with the graphics card. I don't see any problem with that. I mean, that's money in the bank. So that's how you have to look at it. It's money in the bank. Especially if you get a rebate and plus a free game. You know, you get a $30 or $20 rebate or something like that and a free game. And then the game's like 60, 70 bucks, just say 60 bucks. So you get like $80, $90 rebate back for a game and the cash back. I think that's a great deal. Well, figure $530 plus $60 for a free game. So that'll knock your GPU price down. If you were to go buy that game, your GPU price would have been $60 less. So basically, and all in all, if you were going to go purchase that game anyway, you would have paid what? $470 for your GPU? Think about it. You would have paid only $470 for your GPU. That game would have brought the price of your GPU down because you would have thought to yourself, okay, well, I was going to go get that game anyway. You know, so something to think about. Yeah, $470. Because if you would have told yourself, well, I was going to go get that game anyway, but I just saved myself $60. So now I only paid $470 for my GPU. That's way cheaper than buying a 7800 XT. So, yes, sometimes people get very lucky if they wanted this specific game anyway. True that, MTBK. So you have to look at it that way. If it comes with the game, you know what you're purchasing. And you know if it came with Avatar, you're going to buy it. And you know how much Avatar is. So, and now you don't have to pay for it. It came with the GPU. So, yeah. Pretty much, yes. But you got over 27 or 30% more performance with the 4070. Even though you're missing that 4 gigabytes of VRAM. And everybody needs to get past that point. Okay? Your system, if your system is set up correctly, no matter what, it's still going to, if it chugs at 12 gigabytes of VRAM, it's still going to take a little bit from the system anyway to make up the difference that you lose from the VRAM. So, but if, your computer can't keep up, if you got fast RAM, I wouldn't really worry about it at all. I really wouldn't. Because having the 12 gigabytes of VRAM, and I want you to hear me very closely on this. If you push the system memory all the way up to the max of the motherboard. The max that motherboard will handle being stable. And you got a 12 gigabyte of VRAM on your card. And you use it all, you go to 14 gigabytes of VRAM. And you're pulling from the system. As long as the system is balanced with the graphics card balanced, then you should not see any hesitation or reductions. So it's how you balance out your graphics card to your system. A friend of mine brought that up to me. He said he did something different. He said to me he wanted to try something. And I said, what was that? He says, I want to try to take the same card you got, and I want to try to at least get 14 or 15 gigabytes of VRAM used. And I said, how are you going to do that with the 12 gigabyte VRAM card? And he says, well, I'm going to take and put the max amount of speed on the system memory and see if it can handle the pull from there to there. I said, all right. And you know what? You can lower the settings. Yes. You can lower the settings. But if you get some people out there that does not want to lower their settings. They want to keep it balls to the wall, man. You have to understand that. Some people out there, they want to keep it balls to the wall when they're playing, and if they play 12 hours a day, they want that game just tip top. But some people make the fatal mistake of that when they build their system, they always put the lowest RAM in their system because they can't afford to put the highest amount of RAM in their system. It's always been the same cloak and dagger. And then you get everybody out there stating, well, my system crashed. It can't handle 12 gigabytes of VRAM and this and that. Well, it can't handle it for the simple fact you put the wrong kind of RAM in your system. It's not going to handle that. It's not going to handle it at all. You expect it to handle it. You only got 16 gigabytes of system memory in there. You expect it to handle that with the 12 gigabytes of VRAM you got on your card? No. Did you set it to max? No. It's really, balance your system out and you'll see it will run more smooth than you think. So if they want to keep it balls to the wall and tip top, they will need some time and money. Others do not buy and just take the time and wait for the new architecture. Yeah, that's true. MTBK, yeah, that's true. I mean, they don't. I, on the other hand, do take my time. My system's not just thrown together. My system has been to where I balance it all the way from A to Z. I've picked all my parts specially for the way I want my system to run, especially how I want it to run. So it's not the matter of, why did I pick AM4? Well, maybe because I picked the processor that nobody uses now these days. And now all of a sudden you got all these reviewers saying, well, I need to get my hands on that processor and check it out. Once I started posting about it, everybody had to get their hands on it. And that's weird. So, but I'll tell you what, my system has never crashed or anything. Never, right here, never crashed. Or nothing. So I can't beat this system. I mean, it's got a lot of hard drive space in it. It runs smooth. I can't complain. So, but when it comes to the new architecture, you want to set yourself up for that next architecture. even though that if you get the 8700G, let's say you can afford it, you get the 8700G, you don't like it, but you keep it as a backup just to first say it sits on the shelf. But then you say to yourself, well, why am I going to let it sit on the shelf? You got to remember, it's not just integrated graphics. It is a CPU as well. You can use it just like another CPU, even if it has the integrated graphics. Some people do. Some people said, you know, about the Intel processors having integrated graphics, but there's a little caveat to those. That, you know, you can take it and get a little bit of goodness from the integrated graphics to use it with your discrete graphics card. Now, if AMD would do that, that would be a plus. But AMD doesn't do that. When their integrated graphics are shut off and you're on discrete graphics card, that's all you get. It's crazy. I wonder if Pal World is single player game. Also, congrats, Jay. A rock solid system in paradise. Yeah, man. I'll tell you what. It is rock solid. Pal World is right now. Pal World's supposed to be, if I'm right, isn't it supposed to be on a trial? You know, you can use it on a trial basis right now. It just launched and you can use it on a trial basis until they start charging for it. I think they had something about that. I might try it. You never know. I might try it and see what it's about. These new games that they put out for us to try, I don't mind posting a video on them, truthfully, if they're that good. But if they're not that good, I ain't going to be posting no video about it. And also, too, I'm not going to be leaving it on my hard drives if that's just 20 to 30, 40 gigabytes of space wasted on a game that's not even worth it. So that's one thing that really bugs me about Steam is the amount of space they need on a hard drive just to put one game on it. It's crazy. Yeah, I know. But, you know, a part of doing the research when it comes to your PC in the world is doing the gaming as well. Researching the games, see which one's the best or the worst, recommending them or not. You know, it's all free information for YouTube for everybody to, you know, learn. Oh, 15 gigabytes for Pal World. That's not too bad. But still, that's 15 gigabytes. That's like 5 videos. 5 of my videos. Just for that game. Steam is still better than Ubisoft. Yeah, that's Boobisoft. I don't call it Ubisoft. I call it Boobisoft. Yeah. Pretending it's not a rental. You know, you can't pretend that, bro. When you're paying monthly out of your pocket for a game, you can't pretend that. No, sorry. That's basically like, you know, like you wanting to watch Netflix, you know, but you don't pay the subscription. What do you think is going to happen when they bring out Windows 12? What do you think what's going to happen? They're going to make the people that are on Windows 10 pay a subscription in order to get updates. And Microsoft has already said this. And now, get this. And now, they said they're going to move it up to 2028 for Windows 10. I'm trying to figure out why they would do something like that. I don't know if that's true or false, but I did hear somebody saying, well, Microsoft is going to move Windows 10 date it dies on 2028. So I don't know if that's true or false. So Starfield is 110 gigabytes. Wow, that's wickedly wow. That's just wicked. I mean, 110 gigabytes. You might as well download the whole game to your PC. That's basically what you're doing. You're downloading the whole damn game to the PC. I'll tell you like this. Second Life is only 1.7 gigabytes. That's it. 1.7 gigabytes. That's it. That's if you download their viewer. But if you download the secondary viewer, they got a secondary viewer. It's called a Firestorm viewer. That's only like 670 some megabytes. That game, Starfield, is how much? 100 times what? Oh my God. Oh yeah, most definitely. Older games, yeah, you don't have that problem. I mean, if you got a tip-top system, older games, it doesn't have that problem. The only problem I got is where Microsoft said to everybody that, they kind of put a block on some of them older games, some of them, for Windows 10, where you're supposed to be able to go to the troubleshooter and, rezone those games for like Windows 7 or XP or whatever. I tried that and it wouldn't allow me to run the game because it needed a lower DirectX. And Microsoft took off a lower DirectX and DLLs that are no longer in the computer. They done wiped all that stuff out of your computer. You can't run them older games anymore for Windows 10. So that's what sucks. Yeah. Well, you think about it that way, man. I mean, how many games are you actually going to get? How many games are you actually going to get on Steam for your hard drives? How many SSD drives do you need to play all your games? Let's say you got 50 games and you needed like 3 solid state drives at 4 terabytes apiece. Think about it. You filled up all your hard drives with Steam games and you go to look to put another game on, you ain't got no room left. So now you're left with doing what? Getting a regular HHD drive, regular hard drive, regular platter drive, and you plug that in. But guess what? Now that you're storing your Steam games on that regular hard drive, they won't play on Steam. Steam's moving away from the regular hard drives to solid state. Some of the games that play on Steam, some of the newer games, will only run off of the solid state drive, not the regular hard drives. So, see, sometimes all those incompatible feel like A massive time wasting machine. Actually, no. What was it? They made emulators for like Atari and stuff like that. People are still buying them. People are still buying those emulators like crazy. I've seen a lot of those ROM emulators. I've seen a lot of them being used. Some of them are making their own game machine, their own little arcade machine, and they're using regular computers and they're using an emulator. So that'd be something to do too. Machine says, so Pal World is on 1440p Epic. Will my 4070 DLSS quality, I am getting 120 FPS. Well, still, that's not bad. You're getting over 60, and it's probably not choppy neither. So if you were to run an older card, if you were to run a 20 series or a 10 series card, then, you would have been getting all the chops and everything else, and you'd have to run it at 720p, and you wouldn't be able to hit that 1440p with those cards. But when it comes to the newer versions, like your last gen and this gen, yeah, you should be able to hit 1440p, no problem with those cards. But the ones before that, you might as well forget it. You're not gonna get 1440p. You're gonna be running at 1080p or 1080 or 720. Yeah, but you're still above 60 FPS. Even if you got lows at 75 or so, you're still above 60 FPS. You got to remember, you keep the rule of thumb of 60 FPS. That you have to keep. I always tell everybody, keep that rule of thumb. Unless it starts being choppy at 60 FPS, then there's something wrong with the game. I've had many systems that ran down to 10 FPS, but, they're like slow moving. It's like watching one of those slow motion pictures to where it moves so slow that, you're biting your fingernails just waiting to get to the next little scene. I mean, that was crazy. But that's back then, about a couple years back. But now it's a little bit different. So, yeah. Not biting my fingernails anymore on this system, for sure. But as far as me wanting to go to the AM5 series, I'm still not convinced yet. I'm going to wait my time out and see if they're going to make the 9000 series the last processor series for the AM5. That's what I want to see. But that's up in the air too, because they don't know if they want to make this the last series or not. They don't know yet. That's where AMD left everybody up in the air. They said they don't know if the 9000 series is going to be, the last series for AM5. No stuttering and rendering, latency of 6 to 9 milliseconds. Well, if you got no stuttering and rendering latency, that's not too bad. That's pretty good. Make sure y'all get your drink and snacks, by the way. So I don't see any problem with that. I've yet to see mine over 6 to 9 milliseconds. Truthfully, any game I've been playing, the most I've hit up to was maybe 2.74 milliseconds. That's it. I don't know if it's the processor I'm running. I don't know if it's how I got it set. But I imagine it's pretty much how I got mine set, to where, it's running a really low latency. So the lower you get that number, the better you're going to be. Just to let you know that. So 75 sounds good. Ryzen 10,000 for AM5 would match AM4 longevity. Yeah, it would, MTBK. It would. It most definitely would. But I think AMD's trying to push the fact of getting it up to that 10,000 mark or the 9,000 mark, and they might just say, well, you know what, we're going to go up to a new motherboard. But they got that 800 series motherboard. Nobody's talking about it. 800 series motherboard. Did you all find out anything about it? Question mark. Question mark. Did anybody find out about the 800 series motherboards? And what they're going to be about? That's going to be the question for y'all. That's going to be y'all's homework. So I'm going to give y'all a little bit of homework. So y'all are going to find out what does this 800 series motherboard entail. That's y'all's homework. So MTVK. There is some kind of news out about the 800 series. There is some kind of news about the 800 series. I think it was Asus that come up with the news for the 800 series. Not too sure about it, but I'm sure you guys will fact check me on that. So it's either Asus or it was Gigabyte, one or the other. Watch, it'll end up being ASRock. And I'm going to be like, there. So, yeah, I mean, come on, guys. I mean, there's got to be something out there. Seriously, there's got to be something out there about it. It's been leaking out for the last couple months. So there's got to be something out there. Not unless they're not finished building up the 700 series. But who knows? Who knows what they're doing? This is the thing. We don't know what they're doing right now. Okay, we don't know if they're going to go up to the 800 series or they're going to cash off the 700 series and they're going to cash off the 600 series. We don't know. You know, I mean, we don't, you know, they've already screwed up the 600 series and the 700 series too. So we don't even know if they're going to go for an 800 series yet. Or they might save the 800 series for the next generation for AM6. Could be too. Could be that they're saving the next generation for AM6 and going up to GDDR7. They were talking about GDDR7. What happened with that? Nobody knows. But like I said, GDDR7 is going to be no different than the GDDR6 Plus. Except for different chips. It's going to be different. But as far as the speed-wise, they're really close to each other. So, yeah. I don't know. I was kind of hoping, in fact, they did something. I'm reading what Machine just posted on Discord. Let's see. Offering robust Gen 5 GPU SSD ecosystem, makes massive upgrades with 800 series. Very good. AMD may launch the Ryzen 8000 series on a 600 series board, followed by the 700 series boards for users who want something more. It'll also be interesting to see if AMD higher-end 700 series AM5 motherboards keep the dual PCH configuration on the X670 series, or the single switch to single PCH design. Or they could switch to the twin PCH design at B650 chipset. Was made to increase I/O capabilities. Oh, interesting. 2 B650 chipsets. Wow. AMD may have developed a new PCH that eliminates the need for two PCH and includes all the added capabilities on a single device. Whoa. May anticipate stronger memory scaling capabilities through its motherboard partners, well as next generation interface like Wi-Fi 7, similar to Intel. Both Intel and AMD's next generation platforms will be available Q3 2024. Similar to the AMD Ryzen 7000 AM5600 series, the Intel 13th Gen LGA 1700-700 series launches 2022. Wow, this must have been written some time ago then. Okay, so that's written some time ago. Okay, let's see. These motherboards based on the AM5 platform and are expected to be announced around Computex 2024. The flagship model X870E is anticipated to feature 2X proprietary 21 chipsets, which that's common, along with the ASM 4242 USB 4 controller, while the PCI lane count upgrades are uncertain. USB 4.0 support is likely. The standard X870 must be cut down version of the X870E, or could reassemble B650 with PCIe 5.0 support and USB 4.0 compatibility. B850 chipset without any extreme treatment will offer mandatory PCIe 5.0 support. Not bad. In new addition, the B840 is based upon Proprietary 19 and is a tweaked version of the A620 chipset. These boards are expected to run DDR5 8000 memory using Expo 2400 MHz F clock, which could significantly impact Zen 5 performance. Wow. Okay, well, that was interesting. Let's see. Love Factory. We know that. That's all good. So I wonder how good the B700G can handle the X264 encoding for live streaming until Twitch is finally ready to automate all of this for the non-partner streamers. I don't know. I think the 8700G will probably, since, now this is with my understanding. If I'm wrong, you can fact check me on this. But as far as I recollect, that it should have the AV1 encoder in it. MTBK, it should have the AV1 encoder in it. That's what my understanding was, that, you know, for streaming, that they were going to put the AV1 encoder into the iGPU. That was my understanding. So, that'd be a plus. I would tell you that, if that's the case. Okay, let me see this one that has been sent. These boards use the LGA 1851 socket and are set to arrive. Release of Arrow Lake desktop CPUs the second half of 2024. The 8000 series family includes Z890, H860, H810, the W880, and the Q870 chipsets for workstation and business devices. Okay, I can see that. I can see that. Wow. I can see that. Yeah, it should have the AV. It should have the AV1. I mean, they went through all this, putting the AI architecture onto this. I am sure that they put AV1 onto the integrated graphics. That would have been a game changer. I'll tell you what. For the extra couple dollars, I can see, that's giving it some life. If they had the HyperX, now you guys been watching about that HyperX. Now with AMD Adrenalin, the program, if you could use the HyperX and stuff, some of the stuff that's in there, yeah, it's going to be worth, the $330. But I still can't see it because on their program, they don't allow you to overclock it from their program. You can from the BIOS, but you can't from the program. Doesn't make sense to me. So that's just something to keep in mind. I don't think I like the bluish. I don't think I like the bluish. The blue and the white. That'll kind of throw me off. I'd rather have, the Mobo, either it's black or white, truthfully. When it comes to the 800 series, I'd rather have a black and white Mobo or an all black Mobo. So, oh my goodness. Oh my goodness. Let me see if I can blow this. No, I'm going to see if I can blow this picture up really quick. Let me move things around a little bit. Okay, let me see if I can move it around a little bit. And let me see if I can do a system. Okay, now I know you guys we're doing this video kind of thing. I want to see this motherboard blowing up a little bit. Just a little bit. So we're going to blow it up and see what we can see. Let's see. Let's go ahead and dig it out of there. Let's see. Let's see. Let's crop it a little bit. It's not the best picture in the world that I'm taking right here, but I'll do my diligence. 800 series .png. Let's see, save. Okay, let's X out of this. Let's see, let's go into here. Okay, it's not the best I got in the world over this motherboard, but I'm going to flip you guys to the action screen. That's the best I can do when it comes to the picture. So, as you can see, That looks like it's got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 PCIe X16 slots, or they might be. That almost looks like a crypto mining board. Almost. Wow. Wow, wow, wow. Okay, well, you guys got the idea. So, wow, 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 wow. So to sum this up, the 8700G sounds interesting, but I do not yet quite feel it, despite being a fan of integrated graphics solutions. Well, you know, if you're running a desktop, right? That's the only way that you're going to become a real big fan of this. If you're, but if you're running a laptop and you're on a laptop all the time, then, the understanding of, being able to take your PC apart and put, different parts in there to make it run better and everything else. That's kind of what the desktop's about, is making it faster and better and more efficient compared to a laptop where you got everything on one big main board. And then the only way you can upgrade it is by replacing the main board. One thing. But this is like you got different parts, moving parts in this. So it's a total different ball game. So, but if you want to be able to understand why everybody likes desktops so much, well, the desktop, you have more options. Instead of you having to replace one main board, okay, and spending like $500, $600, $700, $800 just on one main board, maybe more, maybe you'll spend like $1,400 on a main board just to put in an upgrade into your laptop, compared to a desktop, where a desktop you just change one part, or you're just changing two, or you might just change the motherboard, the processor, and the RAM, to where that's only equaling out to like $400, maybe less, depending on what you buy. That's things to think about. You can wind up, if you wind up changing the main board out of a laptop, you might as well just buy yourself another laptop, to be honest with you. So that's what it comes down to. So X770 and X670. I don't know. I don't know. I'm not convinced on those motherboards anyway. Guys, you ought to know me by now. They have the B650 motherboard, the Strix. The Strix motherboard -A that they ran the 8700G with, and they got the best results they could have out of that, and that's an Asus motherboard. If you're going to run integrated graphics only, that would be the motherboard to run this with. I don't imagine it being any more than what the cost of my motherboard would be. So that's just to give you an idea. Well, you know what? Would it give a better idea if I just do the due diligence of going to Amazon? I'll just type it in, and we'll take a look and see what we're looking at. Let's see. B650-A. Okay. Yeah, that looks like that motherboard is like the upgrade from my motherboard right here, and that's like $220. unless you go and find a cheaper one. The cheapest one I see is the Gaming X by Gigabyte, the B650. And they got a 5-year warranty on it for $190. Or you can get the B650 D3 HP. It's got a 5-year warranty on it for $109. They do got a cheaper motherboard for $109. So you figure total with the motherboard and the processor, you'll be spending like $440 just with those two alone. Now the RAM, you might as well add another 100 into it. So you're looking at $530, somewhere in there, just to get the motherboard, the RAM, and the processor. So if you're going to go through that expense to spend $530 some, you might as well get something of worth that's at a cheaper price. And you all know this. In MTBK, you know this. You can get a cheaper processor for a better price, and get that price down below $300 and some. So you can do that too. Okay, let's see what we got here. Oh, but like I said, you guys don't believe me? I'll switch over to the action screen. I'll show you. You can find a motherboard right here for $109, $110. But the only thing I don't like about this is it's only covering like part of the VRMs. It's not covering the other side of the VRMs. So that's $109 motherboard. You can get, spend an extra $10 and get the heat sinks to put on the other ones. So it's not too bad. But it depends on what you're shopping for, just to say. X770, USB port, USB-C, USB 4.0, PCIe M.2, expect to improve, support for more PCIe M.2 lanes, expansion without compromising speed. Well, you know what? They are going to take and reduce the lanes when it goes to your solid state drive, because that 5.0 solid state drive they got coming out, it's only going to be X2, the new one. They said that you can get more performance and everything else being at what? 5,000 what'd they say? You can transfer 5,000 gigabits per second or something like that. Who knows? 5,000 megabits per second, something like that. I don't know. I mean, I didn't look into it that much. Because right now, I just don't see much of an interest of doing the 5.0 SSDs when, there's not too much of the support for that. So, but look, if you want to do the 8700G, guys, okay, if you want to do the 8700G, okay, get yourself a decent B550 motherboard, okay, that you can change the clocks and everything else. Getting the best in the getting the best and the cheapest motherboard you can get. Then turn around, take that extra money and put it into, let's say, your RAM, and try to find, where you got, your top speed RAM that you can get for that motherboard, and then put it into that so you can support the random access memory. So, I'll close all that crap. There. My bad. Uh-oh. Okay. So, if you guys know what I mean, right? I mean, think about it. Now, let me open that back up. Alrighty. Okay. Now that I opened it back up, it's not like you guys are going to see anything anyway, so it's not really going to matter any. So, okay. Yeah, I see that, and thank you for doing that, machine. I do appreciate that. You know, but as far as when it comes to the 800 series, we'll have to wait and see what that's going to bring. Truthfully, I mean, it sounds promising. It really does. It sounds really promising. But I don't know if it's going to handle it should handle the load. The VRM should be perfect on that board. But I'm thinking that might be the last generation they might use. The 800 series motherboards might be the last generation they use. I'm starting to think that. B650 main board chip plus RAM, top speed motherboard plus 8700G. I can check for some later. Would make sure the board has all the features I want, or go to something way cheaper. No, I would not go to an A620 motherboard. I'm just going to give you this helpful hint. If you go to an A620 motherboard, I hear a lot of horror stories about those. I know people that have tested those. I wouldn't go to the A620. I would stay into the B650 or greater. That's going to be my honest 100% to you. If you're going to do something, stay with the B650 motherboards or greater. Don't go to your A620s. That's a big mistake. That's more or less like you going to Best Buy, buying a pre-built computer with a motherboard that's designed for Intel, but it only having one button that you can put into the BIOS that you can press, and that's got turbo button, and that's it. Nothing else. Just one button, you hit turbo, and that's it. I would be careful of that. Okay, well, that's cool. You can use air cooling. Yeah. I mean, look at it this way. You can probably set yourself up a whole computer with this new processor and everything else for less than $800. Just might as well say that right now. I just say the maximum that I see with everything that you got to put inside it. If you got your case and you got your power supply and all that, that's fine. But if you need to buy the power supply, the case, and everything else, look at about $800 putting it all together. So B650 main board at $89 here. Damn, they got it inexpensive. Yeah, they do. I mean, $89, dude. Especially if it gives you all the capabilities. $89 with that processor right there. But that's less than $400. And you throw $100 worth of RAM on it, that's $500. Or if you got, you save a couple of $100 extra, you might as well beef up your RAM with all that right there. You could throw yourself a hellacious system together, having integrated graphics and having top speed on your RAM, and you're going good. Think about it. I mean, that's if you want to eliminate having a graphics card. You can run that without having a graphics card. Or you can make it future-proofed, and then you can take and, later on down the road, let's say 2 or 3 years down the road, say, hey, okay, I want to get a graphics card for this. Plug in a 50 series graphics card, or 8000 series AMD, or something like that. Or you can change and upgrade the processor. If you don't like the processor, you don't have to run the 8700G. You can turn around, upgrade the processor to a 9000 series. You have more room for upgradability at that point. You can upgrade everything, and you won't need to change your motherboard, or you don't need to change your RAM, because you can upgrade to a 9000 series processor on the same motherboard. Think about it. And have yourself future-proof for the next, 5-10 years? Or you ain't got to buy anything? I don't see nothing wrong with that. So, that's something to think about. Right now, I don't even have a power consumption disadvantage with my 4060 GPU. But the entire laptop is more than 530, of course. Yeah, but if you put a whole desktop together for less than $500, which one's going to be the best for their buck? What's going to be the best for the value? When I first put first put one of my systems together, it was less than $400. So, and that includes the case and everything. And all I did was upgrade, and so now I'm well up over the upgrades to my next case. But the motherboard I had before will still run the same processor I have in this case compared to that. It'll still share the same processor. The motherboard will. So I get the better value because I can share, my processor with the different motherboards I have. So, yeah. Right now, if you look at it, the 5600G is only $119? If you want to save yourself a couple bucks, if you want to go to the AM4, you can get a $79 motherboard and you get a $119 processor, that's got integrated graphics on it. And then you can go up to 4400 overclocked RAM. You can do that. And then give it 64 gigs of system RAM that's clocked over to 4400 megahertz. So, yeah, you could do that too. Let's be honest, guys. We all are waiting for AMD Strix Halo APUs with those 60 CUs or 3,840 shaders that will compete with RTX 4070. Well, when that happens, that's going to happen, I'd like to see it compete with the 4090. You know how many people would be buying APUs then if it competed with the 4090? They might buy APUs even more because of if it competes with the 4070. I have a feeling that, maybe AMD is going to move away from the GPU scene, and they might go to the APU scene. They might put more of their time into the integrated graphics than they would a graphics card itself. Figure it, it's cost-wise. It's cheaper in cost for them to make an integrated graphics on a processor than it would to make a graphics card. So, where are they going to save the money? Well, they'll save over $200 and some just by making integrated graphics compared to a graphics card. I like to see that. I don't know about y'all, but I like to see that. So that's just my opinion. An IBM PS1 1990. Lots of pre-installed software and games. 2011. For $299. Oh my God. I wouldn't even touch that. Yeah, I remember those too, but I remember the 286s and the 86s and the way back then before the Unix, before Microsoft programming, the Unix programming, and yeah, I remember all that stuff too. So, yeah, at one point, it doesn't matter anymore that bad games become even worse to run. Moore's Law is dead, said AMD should focus on APUs. They should. They really should, but they don't. This is the only time out of how many years that they actually focused on APUs. That they really focused. At least for laptops, and you said AMD didn't it before canceling the end of GPUs and serve entry level mid-tier only. Yep. When they say they're only going to do mid-level and low tier, no, they're only doing, AMD's only doing mid-level and low tier. Now, NVIDIA is only doing high level and mid-tier. So meeting in the middle is going to be AMD and NVIDIA. But, and now this is a but, if Intel comes up with something good, hopefully Battle Mage will come out to be spectacular. Hopefully Battle Mage will come out to be spectacular. But what my problem is right now, and you guys are going to hear this and I'm going to say this, that AMD is using laptop graphics chip built onto their 8700G. That they're now going to, you know, some of their graphics cards that they did put out, it has an M at the end of it. That still bothers me. Still bothers me that some graphics card that they built have laptop graphics on it for desktop. And you're only getting 50% of the performance. That's the problem right now. Is you're only getting 50% of the performance. Even people on laptops are only getting 50% of the actual performance from their GPUs that's built onto the laptop, the motherboard. Don't think you're getting the 100% when it comes to, you know, your graphics on a laptop. Don't think you're getting 100%. I'm just going to be honest with you about it. You're not. They even had that years ago until now that they tested the difference between the graphics on a laptop and the graphics on a desktop. So 780M, yes, all the way. It's everywhere. True. They give it more power and call it a desktop. Yep. That's all they do. They give it more power, give it a little bit more watts, and they call it a desktop. That's all they do. So, you guys got any questions? I get them out now because we got about 15 minutes left on this live stream. If you got any questions or concerns, I would get them out there right now because in about 15 minutes, we're going to call it quits. So, Just to let you know. So, wow. You guys are really quiet today. What happened? Did you guys say everything you needed to say, or are you kind of wondering what I'm going to say next? I think companies will shrink a little, people will not buy. So, question, how much trouble is there in paradise? Well, there's many a trouble, because the thing is this. If you've noticed around the world that companies are starting to lay off people and nobody knows why. If you've heard that. So, people are losing their jobs right now and nobody knows why. I hear the fact of that their sales went down, so they're cutting people loose. That's what I heard. So, and that's Microsoft and all of them right now. Amazon, Microsoft, Newegg, and all of them. They're cutting them loose. They're firing people right now. So, I don't know, that's what, when you go to get your packages, just think about with Amazon, your packages are going to come a little bit slower. I would assume with more people, there are more customers. Maybe right now, the market is a little bit saturated. Everyone upgraded. Either that or it's inflation. Either inflation has made the market so saturated that nobody wants to buy anything, or like you said, people could have bought everything they wanted and now the market's just sitting still. So people are going to lose their jobs over that because nothing's selling. Either way, you look at it, either way it could be. So we don't know. But as far as all the rest of the stuff when it comes to PC parts, AMD's flooded the market with CPUs. Okay. Oh, yeah, that reminds me. The 5700 X3D, I heard that it was supposed to already be out, but nobody's talking about it. But I heard it was over in Europe and not here in the US. And I haven't heard nothing about it. That's what's amazing me right now. Let me see if I can go to Amazon, see if it's there. Or Newegg. Let me see if it's in there. Let's see. 5700 X3D. Yep, it's in Amazon. $249, everybody. It's only $50. Oh, man, I'm just gonna show you guys. It's just there. I just show you guys. Look at this right here, $249, and the 5800 X3D is $307. Look at that, $307. 5700X is $180. 7800 X3D is $389. Compared to the 307, wow. 5800X, $229, 5600X, $153, 5700G is $170, 5900X is $299, 7600X is $200, and that comes with 2 CUs of integrated graph. No, I don't think that comes with the integrated graphics. Not sure yet, but don't quote me on it. Look at this, 5800X3D, $429 with the motherboard. That's not too bad. Not too bad. But 5700X3D right here. Wow. Alrighty, so now we know. Now we know. PC games hardware, Dave says, is simply subtract 2 to 3% from all 5800X3D's results. You've got a 5700X3D performance. The problem is the 5600X3D was not very efficient. The lowly bin. Some fear that the 5700X3D is low silicon quality. Okay, well, I hate to tell you this. I have the 5600X3D. I've already tested it. And as far as I've seen, it kept up right where it needs to be. Compared to the 5600G or the 5700X. So with it meeting and greeting the 5700X, it's not, the 5600X3D is not a bad processor. Just going to tell you that right now. So 5700X3D could meet and greet to the fact of the 5800X3D or the 5800X. You can't expect them to go from processor to processor without having something to fall back on. You know. Now, if the 5700X3D meets and greets with the 5800X, or does a little bit better and meets with the 5800X3D, but that's just touching off of the top. That's not touching off of anything else, but the 5800X3D gets really close, and you watch some of the benchmarks, gets really close to the 7800X3D. And look at the benchmarks. They're going to tell you the same thing. It doesn't lie. So that's something to think about. And with the price point of $50 difference between the 5700X3D and the 5800X3D, people are going to buy the 5800X3D for that extra $50 with getting extra performance. Come on. They're going to do it that way other than buy the 5700X3D. So, would someone buy some hypothetical 5950X3D now? I read some comments. That would be a great AM4 finale. That'd probably be a good AM4 finale. That's if they're getting ready to say they're done with the AM4 series, but they didn't say that yet. That's the thing. They're not done yet with the AM4 series. So if they put something new out for the AM4 series just recently, they're not going to kill it off just right away. They're going to make their money off of that, and if they're still making money off of the AM4 series, they're going to put something out again. That's only if they're making money on it. If they don't make money on anything more on the AM4 series, then they'll decide to kill it off. They'll say, I'm done with it. And then they'll move, they'll tell everybody we're moving up to the AM5 series. But they did that already, and they cut their foot off because everybody still stayed on the AM4. A lot of people stayed on the AM4. It's only the 1% people that went to the AM5. And if you look at the statistics, that's pretty much going to show you the same thing. It's apples to oranges. So DDR4 will not go away too soon. No, not necessarily. It won't. Especially if Microsoft's going to tie Windows 10 to discontinuing in 2028, if that becomes true, then you're looking at the fact of the AM4 series is going to stay around for a little bit more, because everybody's going to say, why am I going to go to the AM5 series when my AM4 motherboard still runs fine on Windows 10? So that's something to think about too. That's questions that everybody has. So you can tie the AM4 series to Windows 10. You can tie AM5 series to Windows 11. But if people don't want to go from Windows 10 to Windows 11, then they're not gonna. Especially when they can get a decent amount of RAM on DDR4 for a lower price than you can get it for AM5. The prices are not too happy right now when it comes to your random access memory. They're still a little bit too high compared to the DDR4 series. So people are going to stay low budgeted, so they're going to stay on the AM4 series. Simple as that. I hope AMD, Intel, and NVIDIA will not make things worse. If Microsoft wants to lose market share, that is their choice. Well, thing is this, Microsoft wants to move everybody over to the AI series to get everybody on Windows 11, get everybody on Copilot, and they're going to use Copilot as the new AI source for the Windows program. That's what I hear. That they're going to take your start menu away, your start button away, so you got nothing, you can't pull nothing up there anymore. Everything's just going to be on your front screen, and then you're talking on the microphone to your Copilot, telling your Copilot what you want done. You have no more start button. Probably just one to turn the computer on and off. Means Microsoft's going to have controls of all your updates. They're going to control everything on your PC. So, this is what people don't want to hear right now. And they're not looking forward to Windows 12. Because that's what Microsoft's going to do. It's going to become really nasty when they move up in the world. So the Microsoft Copilot runs off the AI hardware people got in their system. Yes. I bet it will answer faster than if the chatbot is faster than our hardware is. Yeah. Well, yeah, the software will complement the hardware, and basically it'll run more efficient and faster. It's not saying that it's going to have, blazing hot, just right down to it, speeds that you can't even imagine if you were typing on a computer, if you're not typing on a computer, yeah, it's going to be fast for you. But if you type faster than the computer does, then it's going to be slow for you. So, yeah, I mean, come down to it, man. They're going to replace everything that's on the start menu. And then you're going to have Copilot controlling everything. So, you're stuck. And if the computer has any problem, then Copilot's going to check it out for you and fix it automatically, supposing what I'm hearing. So this will be the time I will check on my graphics card load when I use this chatbot. Well, I hate to tell you this, it's going to change software or anything else, or upgrading software for your graphics card and everything else. That's all going to be strictly done through Microsoft. Hate to tell you that. And if they decide to go with Windows 12, that's what they're going to do. So basically, you won't have the control of going to your motherboard manufacturer anymore, doing upgrades. You might have to do it for the well, if they change everything around, you never know. They might do it for the motherboard too, to where that Copilot updates your motherboard, updates everything for you, and hopefully it'll let you pick the sites you want to upgrade from. So who knows? So the Copilot will stop debloating from happening, maybe. I hope so. It'd be cool if it did. It'd be cool if it did. All right, everybody. We are going to call it quits for this session. So, but anyway, I'm glad to see you all here and glad you all partied with us for the last couple hours. So it's been a blast. And do remember, every Saturday at 11 o'clock a.m. Pacific Standard Time, we do these live videos for a couple hours. And we talk about everything and anything. And, you know, comes down to it. So, yes, see you too, MTBK. Video. If this is your first time here, you make sure you subscribe. And you're welcome, machine. You are welcome. And if you've already subscribed, welcome to the family. Welcome to JJ's PC Builds and my veteran subscribers. As always, much love to you for all that you do, helping support the channel. But until the next time, and I mean the next time in the next video, this is JJ on JJ's PC Builds, and we'll see you on the next one. Video. Have a good one, guys. Be safe.